What do you think of them?
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No,
They're ridiculous.
no,
She never stops whining.
no.
Meghan Markle Googled, is the race car an actual car?
Slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
I love your Luke.
Sorry, what's that?
Your Luke. You look amazing. Your Luke.
My Luke, my
Luke. My look. She likes my Luke.
Your voice is driving me crazy and I'm about to jump over there and put my fists down your throat.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending like she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
I think the woke have been asleep.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Well, if Meghan and Harry can quit their family, you can too.
No.
Is Meghan Markle really the Duchess of Drama? Or is she just being painted as the villain for daring to tell her side of the story?
Here's an email that I've been keeping for you.
I have full body chills right now.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
No.
Did Meghan's tearful podcast appearance improve her image or just backfire? Let's be honest, it didn't exactly come across as genuine. Even host Jamie Kern-Lima felt more like a cheerleader than a journalist.
Jamie Kern-Lima, who seems to be even more fake and insufferable than the Duchess.
Both of them did come across like they haven't actually, been in touch with maybe someone who's worried about the price of eggs.
Very first question, because I think in friendship it's so important. And I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind.
Yes, it really is that awful. I may have blacked out from smacking myself in the head.
It was seriously cringe-worthy, the way Jamie Kern-Lima kept showering Meghan with praise like she was royalty reincarnated. The whole thing felt less like an interview and more like a fan club gathering. That's not journalism. It was a scripted love fest. Interviews are meant to involve real questions, not just a stream of compliments handed out like party favors.
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern-Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her.
Now let's unpack how the internet roasted her. Time Magazine most influential moment, then pile on Prince Harry's awkward BBC interview that had critics cringing. Add in the insider buzz labeling Meghan more narcissist than noble, and it's clear the optics aren't great. Even when she talks about her kids, the spotlight somehow always shifts back to her.
Kids that's fun, so many good songs, and I've become that mom where I'm like sitting around with friends and I start singing like, Tyrannosaurus, that's the chorus, Tyrannosaurus. I was like, what am I singing? Oh my gosh, I'm singing Storybook. I'm singing Storybooks. I am not singing Beyonce.
Her Spotify deal was axed, her Netflix show tanked, and she's teetering on the brink of complete royal irrelevance. Maybe it's time she stops signing off as Her Royal Highness. Because let's be honest, no one's buying the performance anymore.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
You dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Why even in private? She's using that full title, Her Royal Highness.
I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
Meghan Markle's latest podcast promised raw honesty. No makeup, no script, just the Duchess speaking from the heart. But let's be real, it didn't feel genuine. Instead, it felt meticulously crafted, more like a PR campaign disguised as vulnerability.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim, when there's nothing to be a victim about, and there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
It felt like Meghan was once again reaching for sympathy, playing the victim in a situation she willingly stepped into. Let's be honest, it's hard to feel sorry for someone living a life of privilege, especially when that life was a choice. There's no underdog story here. In fact, Katy Perry calling herself an astronaut came off more authentic than Meghan's attempt at vulnerability. As for the podcast, Jamie wasn't acting like a host. She was more like a close friend reading from a fan letter. The whole thing was drenched in flattery and completely lacking in substance. We didn't walk away with any new insights, just a clear view of how far Meghan's polished image can stretch. Her long-winded tangents about how stressful her day is felt tone-deaf and disconnected. The performance seemed overly rehearsed, emotionally hollow, and completely out of touch with reality.
So hard. The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done. It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions and making sure that all that feels in line and what's the cadence of it. And
in this interview, she really goes on these tangents of talking about how stressful her day is. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, no, that sounds like a normal day to me, Meghan.
Critics weren't convinced. Most saw it as a strategic play to rebrand Meghan as the face of yet another lifestyle empire. Yes, everything sold out in 30 minutes, but here's the catch. There wasn't much product to begin with. It was classic marketing theater, manufactured scarcity designed to stir up hype, not genuine demand. The entire launch felt like smoke and mirrors, crafted to project success, even if the foundation was more flash than substance.
It flopped really hard despite Spotify trying to push it, and they realized that these two don't really want to work, okay?
Happened to Spotify. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
So when she's trying to sell these kind of, I'm sorry, but crappy, cheap tats to middle America.
Meghan keeps trying to come across as relatable, but it's just not resonating. Meanwhile, frustrated customers are still airing complaints online about missing orders, nearly a month after launch. To make matters worse, her trademark filings for things like yoga mats and pet bowls only added to the backlash. Critics and even former fans didn't hold back, slamming the move as a clear cash grab, branding masked as authenticity and desperation wrapped in glossy marketing.
She's trying to sell herself as this wholesome mother who's baking cookies and making tea for the rest of the family.
And this was one of the most every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children in the morning. Now, look, Maureen. Look at this.
I can't. She is doing a cooking show on Netflix. I only watched 5 seconds of it, and I thought she was going to cut her wrist by trying to zest a lemon. This girl has never been in the kitchen in her life.
Honestly, I've never listened to a podcast where someone spends so much time subtly bragging about how flawless their life is.
I don't like her.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Everybody who works for her quits. Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty. Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch about it to everybody who works for her. When things inevitably start spiraling downward, she blames everyone but herself.
No real struggle, no genuine honesty, just nonstop self-promotion. So the real question is she truly opening up? Or is this just another episode of The Meghan Markle Show?
They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Meghan's at it again, portraying herself as the perfect mother, claiming she writes emails to her kids every night. Yes, nightly emails to toddlers, if you can even imagine that. It comes across less as authentic parenting and more like a PR move. Who actually does that? It feels less like honesty and more like an attempt to look flawless.
Can you imagine being Archie or Lilibet and opening this inbox of 6,000 emails when you turn 18? No one wants that, not the children. And also it sets this really unrealistic expectation, which Meghan is so good at doing for other parents.
If I don't have meetings in the morning, then I try to do school drop-off. They're at 2 different schools. So from 6:30 in the morning on drop-off mornings for me, I'm not home till 9.
Her life is so hard because she has to do school drop-offs, and thank God that she's got a live-in nanny basically raising these 2 children.
The episode racked up millions of streams with clips going viral on TikTok and Instagram, but not everyone was sold. Host Jamie Kern-Lima called it raw, but most people weren't buying it. What made it even more awkward was how often Jaime emphasized that Meghan hadn't seen any of the questions in advance. Why keep bringing that up? It felt less like highlighting honesty and more like damage control. trying to ward off accusations that the whole thing was staged.
Seen any of the questions ahead of time, and we're in our sweats, and you look the exact same with no makeup as makeup, and we're just
that's very generous.
You haven't seen any of the questions in advance? We're in our sweats, and you look the exact same with no makeup as you do with makeup. Why keep repeating that? Why make it such a focal point? It feels more like an attempt to convince the audience, or maybe even yourself, that this wasn't all scripted and fake from the beginning.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending that she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
During promotion for Suits, she was joking with one of the photographers that she can cry on command. Left eye, go. And then you watch a tear fall down her face, and then she starts cackling because she's so proud of herself.
She has this really famous thing where she says one tap left eye and she can make herself cry on demand.
It's just another fabrication from Meghan, where she portrays this picture-perfect family life. But behind the scenes, it's her staff holding up the whole facade. Critics have noted how her stories always seem excessively self-centered, constantly circling back to her brand or personal struggles, turning everything into a narrative about Meghan. Even The Express reported that royal insiders believe this sudden emotional shift won't repair her image. In fact, some see it as just another performance, a calculated move to stay in the spotlight while pretending to be relatable.
It's just another lie from Meghan where she's told us one thing about this wholesome family life that she's got, but really it's staff behind the scenes that are upholding this entire image for this woman.
Meghan's big moment at the Time 100 summit quickly sparked harsh backlash. Honestly, I can't decide who seems more fake in these staged interviews. Blake Lively with her forced charm, or Meghan Markle with her royal victim routine. Either way, the whole thing felt painfully rehearsed.
They kind of f***ed up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood.
Yeah.
But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
Her Time Summit speech, despite not even making the 2025 list, only sparked more backlash. Critics called her inclusion absurd, pointing out that her business is floundering, selling things like jam, honey, and cupcake sprinkles. Not exactly world-changing products. Who does she think she is, Gayle King? Now that's a true trailblazer who made history. She actually went to space. Meanwhile, GB News quoted critics calling Meghan a self-promoter who relies on her royal titles for relevance. With her so-called influence now under scrutiny, the Time nod feels less like a prestigious honor and more like a PR boost.
The Times list of cool people, but she did get invited there because her agency probably bought her access. This is one of the goofiest things ever.
Because I think it speaks to the tiny moments of joy that are so effortless and just create a little bit of magic that we're all craving.
What in the hell word salad is this?
Tiny little flower petals that are dried. I started putting them on salads. I started putting them on scrambled eggs. Level of charm that you find people have when they see these tiny little dried petals is something I can't fully wrap my head around, but I appreciate.
I'm elevating it by putting dried flower petals on all of my food.
The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine slammed Harry's somber tone, accusing him of wallowing in self-pity and even exploiting King Charles's cancer diagnosis to gain sympathy. ITV News reported that palace insiders were appalled by his comments, finding them incredibly tasteless. The Mirror added that Charles no longer trusts Harry, fearing that even private conversations could end up in a Netflix special. Former supporters didn't hold back either, calling Harry spoiled and dramatic, with one even describing the entire interview as a royal pity party.
She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
I mean, Meghan did claim that before dating Harry, she never Googled him, and she said she didn't know much about the royal family.
It was planned from the beginning. I know someone who knows the ex-husband who said she had a vision board with Prince Harry on it.
Before they met?
Yes.
Prince Harry's recent BBC interview, where he criticized King Charles for ignoring his security concerns after a failed court appeal, quickly sparked major backlash. Critics wasted no time slamming him, calling it another tone-deaf move from a prince more focused on placing blame than addressing the real issues
He lost at the trial court level on this push to make the British royal family pay for his security when he goes to the UK.
Once they realise that myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, please just look at the fact. Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, look where the responsibility lies.
What a manipulation. My father's grandchildren. They're going to and it will be his fault.
It's gaslighting on a grand scale.
The overall reaction to Harry's interview portrays it as little more than an inflated complaint, only widening the royal divide. Meanwhile, there's ongoing speculation about Meghan's involvement, with some arguing that she didn't just create tension within the family, but intentionally escalated things, deliberately making the situation worse.
But as soon as Meghan Markle made it absolutely clear that it was all about the moolah, it was all about the big bucks, it was all about trading off the royal name, but she was lining up these deals when she was still the Duchess of Sussex. She was in talks with Disney, she was in talks with the publishing companies, in talks with Netflix. At that point, the late Queen Elizabeth II, quite rightly, in my opinion, said, no, there is no half in, half out. So you go with our blessing, but you lose everything.
The general response to Harry's interview paints it as little more than an inflated grievance, only widening the royal divide. At the same time, there's ongoing speculation about Meghan's role, with some suggesting that she didn't just stir tension within the family, but deliberately escalated the situation, intentionally making everything worse.
Purpose.
But I have zero sympathy for him. The fact that he is putting his father through this in the final years of his life. And Meghan, there are members of the royal family who believe that Harry's behavior hastened the death of the late Queen Elizabeth II.
I believe that too. That's what I say. I say those two killed the Queen.
Megyn Kelly didn't hold back, calling Meghan a malignant narcissist, while Celia Walden of The Telegraph dismissed her podcast as nothing more than a self-absorbed therapy session. Even Page 6 reported that major brands like Goop are turning down Meghan's pitch to become a lifestyle guru, citing her divisive reputation. And honestly, they have a point.
Thank you for trusting me with your first ever podcast and with your friendship. Yeah.
It means a lot, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a very accepting person. Truly, I want to like something about her. I'm searching for something to like about her, and it's so hard.
Every time Meghan sheds a tear, it comes across more as a sales pitch than real vulnerability. Critics argue it's not authentic. It's scripted, overproduced, and painfully fake. She's not really opening up. She's acting. And the worst part? People are starting to see right through it.
And this podcast with Jamie Kern-Lima was absolutely car crash. I mean, Jamie Kern-Lima is actually a very successful woman, self-made billionaire. However, she is a fame whore because, she first found fame by appearing on the first series of Big Brother. She believes that she's the new Oprah Winfrey. And the problem is, you realize these are the types of people Meghan Markle is surrounding herself with. And none of them are prepared to ever give her a dose of reality.
She agreed with everything Meghan said, coming off as a complete yes woman with no backbone. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like fan fiction. The Independent's Roy Sin Lanigan even noted that Jaime Kern-Lima's nonstop praise turned the entire episode into more of an infomercial than a real conversation. What should have been an authentic moment ended up feeling more like a paid promotion for Meghan's image.
Usually when we're together, we're in our cozy sweats and no makeup. So that's how we are today. No one's picked up my book proposal yet.
Yes.
I haven't found my soulmate yet. Everything is yet.
The power of yet.
The power of yet. Yet. Yet.
But I'm happy. And the kids are healthy and H is great. But I'm trying to also enjoy these big wins right now.
Yes.
Enjoy them.
Former supporters pointed out that the interview wasn't an honest conversation. It was a full-on Meghan hype session. The host, Jaime Kern-Lima, who sold her company for $1 billion, is no rookie. She knows how to build something real, far more than Meghan ever has. Yet instead of offering anything meaningful or authentic, she spent the entire hour acting like Meghan could do no wrong. The whole thing felt like a carefully orchestrated PR stunt, not a genuine conversation. I didn't walk away with any valuable insights, just a clear picture of how far someone will go to protect a manufactured image.
She's a princess too, and Harry is slaying dragons to rescue her.
You know, look what we built. We've built a beautiful life, and we have 2 healthy, beautiful children. And I always think about it like the end of Super Mario Brothers when you get to the final level. And what's the goal in Super Mario? They're like, slay the dragon, save the princess. I'm like, that's my husband.
Who's Harry rescuing her from? The family she abandoned before making him abandon his?
Meghan's podcast tears and Harry's dramatic BBC outburst are raising the same question. Are they being genuine, or is it just another performance? From Time's questionable influential award to behind-the-scenes staffers sharing stories of Meghan's explosive temper, it's becoming harder to tell where the real people end and the PR spectacle
Meghan
begins.
has always said that, she's got lots of staff around her, and we've heard lots of complaints from lots of people that have worked for Meghan.
Critics argue that they're a narcissistic duo, constantly exaggerating their struggles for sympathy, while supporters claim they're just misunderstood. But the internet, it's not buying it. Many now believe that the so-called Duchess of Drama and her prince are more focused on building their brand than being honest. Is any of this genuine, or is it just one long performance for clicks and cash? Honestly, who can say?